The desert does not wake gently. Before the sun even clears the jagged spine of distant mountains, heat already simmers beneath the sand. The air trembles in anticipation. Saguaro cacti stand like silent sentinels, their arms raised toward a sky that will soon blaze without mercy. Shadows stretch long and thin across the cracked earth, retreating inch by inch as dawn ignites the horizon in molten gold. Then the sun rises, light floods the Sonoran desert, and with it comes movement. At first it is subtle, a shimmer against the sand, a distortion in the rising heat. The ground seems to ripple as though something beneath the surface is stirring. A gust of wind scatters dust across the flats. A cactus wren takes flight. The silence tightens, and then a blur. It streaks across the open ground with impossible speed, legs churning in a rhythm too fast for the eye to follow. Sand sprays behind it in a thin, trailing arc. Its body remains low, aerodynamic, perfectly balanced. A long tail slices the air like a rudder, correcting every micro shift in direction. Wings flick outward for an instant, not to fly but to stabilize. This is not a creature of the sky. This is speed without wings, the Greater Roadrunner. Up ahead, coiled in the early warmth of the morning sun, lies a rattlesnake, muscles looped in patient geometry, tongue tasting the air, heat sensing pits, scanning for movement, the desert's ancient executioner. The Roadrunner slows, but only slightly. Its head tilts. One amber eye fixes on the serpent. The distance closes. The snake senses the vibration too late. Its body snaps forward in a lightning strike. Fangs bared, venom poised. Time fractures. The strike unfolds in slow motion, scales glinting, jaws widening, dust lifting from the ground in suspended clouds. But the bird pivots. Talons grip sand with surgical precision. 2 toes forward, 2 back, a zygodactyl grip built for traction on loose terrain. The body twists. The tail counters. The snake's fangs slice through empty air. In a single explosive movement, the Roadrunner lunges. Its beak clamps behind the serpent's head. Wings flare. The snake thrashes, coils whipping violently against feather and bone. The desert holds its breath. The bird lifts its prey and slams it against a sun-bleached rock. Once, twice, a third time. Freeze. Dust hangs suspended around predator and prey. The moment before finality. The precision of evolution meeting the violence of survival. Welcome to the Sonoran Desert, a land where flight is optional, but speed is everything. Here, survival does not belong to the strongest, it belongs to the fastest. But this desert is not empty, it is a battleground. The strike resumes. The Roadrunner releases its grip for a fraction of a second, just enough to reposition. The rattlesnake coils again, body tightening into a living spring. Its rattle vibrates, a dry electric warning carried across the sand. The snake lunges, but the bird pivots. In less than half a heartbeat, the Roadrunner sidesteps the arc of venomous fangs. Its legs blur, capable of reaching nearly 20 miles per hour on open ground, not raw power, precision. Every movement measured, every angle calculated. The snake strikes again and misses again. The bird counters, seizing the serpent just behind the skull. With a violent snap of its neck, it slams the reptile against stone. The sound is sharp. Final. The coils loosen. There is no celebration in the desert, only continuation. The Roadrunner swallows its prize in sections, adjusting the length with careful jerks of its head. Scales disappear down a narrow throat, designed for improbable meals. Feathers settle, eyes scan again, movement. Near the base of a creosote bush, a tarantula emerges from its burrow. Thick legs probe the sand, each step deliberate, each hair tuned to vibration. It is a predator in its own right, armed with venom and patience. The roadrunner advances slowly now, head lowered. Crest flattened. One foot lifts and sets down without sound. The spider senses something, turns abruptly. The beak darts forward like a striking needle. The tarantula attempts to rear, fangs raised, but the bird seizes it mid-motion, pinning legs against the sand. A quick series of pecks disables the spider before venom can find flesh. The body is swallowed whole, hairs and all. The desert does not waste protein. Across the open flats, a side-blotched lizard basks on a warm rock, its body absorbing the rising heat. Its survival depends on alertness. Its eyes flick constantly. Too late. The roadrunner explodes into motion. Sand sprays. The lizard bolts, zigzagging between stones. The bird follows every turn with uncanny anticipation, tail extended, wings flicking for balance. The chase becomes geometry. Angles tightening, distance collapsing. The lizard darts towards a crevice. The bird accelerates. A final burst. A snap of the beak. Silence. Speed here is not spectacle. It is arithmetic. A predator reducing variables until only one outcome remains. Unlike hawks that dominate from above, or coyotes that rely on endurance, the roadrunner hunts at eye level. It reads the ground like a map. Every tremor, every shadow shift, every flick of movement translated into opportunity. This is controlled violence, efficient, exact, without excess. And yet, the roadrunner is only one force among many. To understand this hunter, we must understand its kingdom. The roadrunner's arena stretches far beyond a single stretch of sand. It rules across two great desert empires of North America, the Sonoran and the Chihuahuan, lands shaped not by gentle seasons, but by extremes. The Sonoran Desert spreads across southern Arizona, southeastern California, and deep into northwestern Mexico. It is a desert of giants. Towering saguaro cacti rise more than 12 meters into the sky, their ribbed bodies swollen with stored rain. In spring, their white blossoms open briefly, feeding bats and bees, before wilting beneath the sun. Between these living columns grow forests of cholla and prickly pear. Barbed silhouettes cast jagged shadows across the earth. The ground is a mosaic of gravel fans, dry washes and brittle grasses that crunch beneath even the lightest step. Farther east lies the Chihuahuan Desert, higher in elevation, cooler in winter, edged by rugged mountain ranges and rocky mesas. Here, vast plains are broken by limestone ridges and desert grasslands. Creosote bushes dominate the flats, releasing a sharp scent into the air when rain finally falls. Rain. In these deserts, it does not arrive gently. For months, the land bakes beneath a sun that pushes temperatures beyond 45 degrees Celsius. The air shimmers, soil cracks. Life slows to a near standstill. Then in late summer, the monsoon builds. Thunderheads tower over distant peaks. Lightning fractures the sky. Rain falls in sudden, violent bursts, transforming dry riverbeds into raging torrents within minutes. The desert drinks greedily. Seeds that have waited years awaken overnight. Insects erupt from the soil. The kingdom pulses with renewed life. But abundance is temporary. By winter, nights can drop close to freezing. Frost clings to cactus spines at dawn. Survival demands flexibility, the ability to endure blistering heat and sudden cold within the same year. And the roadrunner is not alone in mastering these extremes. A coyote moves along a ridge line, lean and watchful, nose low to the ground. It also hunts lizards, rodents, anything small enough to catch. In the sky above, a Harris's hawk circles, scanning the desert floor with predatory patience. Its shadow sweeps silently over the sand. Near a rocky outcrop, a Gila monster emerges. Heavy-bodied and venomous, its orange and black skin glowing against the earth. It raids nests, searching for eggs. In the brush, a band of javelinas shuffles forward, pig-like foragers with coarse bristles and blunt snouts, rooting for tubers and fallen fruit. Every creature here is armed with something: speed, venom, endurance, cooperation. The desert is not barren, it is contested. And within this contested realm, one bird has chosen to stay grounded, to run rather than soar, adapting not to the sky, but to the shifting geometry of sand, stone, and shadow. To truly understand how it thrives here, we must look closer at the hunter itself, strip away the drama of the chase, and what remains is engineering. The Greater Roadrunner stands barely 60 centimeters tall, yet every proportion of its body is tuned for velocity across unstable ground. Its legs are long, sinewy, and built for stride rather than lift. Unlike perching birds that grip branches, the Roadrunner's feet are designed for traction. 2 toes face forward, 2 face backward. This arrangement, called zygodactyl, acts like a natural clamp against loose sand and gravel, distributing force with each explosive step. In slow motion, the mechanics become clear. The legs extend far ahead of the body. Contact is brief, push-off is immediate. There is no wasted motion. Each stride converts muscle into forward thrust with ruthless efficiency. At full sprint, the bird can reach nearly 20 miles per hour, astonishing for a creature that rarely relies on flight. The wings remain short and rounded. They are not instruments of long-distance travel. Instead, they function as stabilizers. When the Roadrunner makes a sharp turn, the wings flick outward for balance, adjusting airflow and body position mid-stride. It is less like a bird taking off, and more like a motorcycle leaning into a curve. Behind it trails one of its most important tools: the tail. Long and rigid, it acts as a counterweight and rudder. During pursuit, the tail swings subtly to correct direction, preventing oversteer on loose terrain. When braking, it lowers slightly, shifting the center of gravity backward. The entire body becomes a dynamic system of balance. Legs propelling, tail steering, wings stabilizing. Above the narrow beak, a small crest rises and falls. At first glance, it appears decorative, but in the desert, communication is survival. The crest can signal alertness, aggression, or courtship readiness. Raised high, it sharpens the bird's silhouette against the horizon. Flattened, it streamlines the head for speed. The skull itself is lightweight, yet reinforced where it matters most. The beak is strong enough to crush bone and break vertebrae. The neck muscles are thick relative to body size, enabling the violent whipping motion used to disable snakes and lizards. Then there are the eyes. Set slightly forward, they provide depth perception, rare among birds. This binocular overlap allows precise distance judgment, critical when striking at fast-moving prey. Watch closely as the Roadrunner pauses. Its head tilts from side to side, each subtle motion recalibrating its view of the ground. It is reading vibration, shadow, angle, timing. Its skeletal structure, like most birds, is partially pneumatic. Hollow bones reduce weight without sacrificing strength. But unlike soaring species, the roadrunner invests less in wingspan and more in leg power. Evolution has shifted its priorities downward. Everything about this animal declares a single intention: control at ground level. Yet anatomy is only potential. But speed alone does not make a killer. In the desert, killing a snake is not bravado. It is mathematics. The snake coils. The bird waits. A western diamondback lies half-hidden beneath a mesquite shrub, its patterned scales dissolving into shadow. Heat radiates from the sand into its cold-blooded body, priming muscle and reflex. Venom glands rest swollen behind hinged fangs. One successful strike could paralyze a small mammal within minutes. The roadrunner steps into view. No rush. No dramatic display. It circles just beyond the serpent's strike radius, calculating distance with minute adjustments of its head. The snake tracks the movement, body tightening into a living spring. The snake lunges. The bird leaps sideways. Dust erupts where the fangs land. This is the first rule of the hunt. Never meet the strike head-on. The roadrunner forces the snake to waste energy again and again, provoking lunges it has no intention of receiving. Each miss costs the reptile precious strength. Then the rhythm changes. In a flash, the bird darts forward and clamps its beak just behind the snake's skull. The safest possible grip. The placement is surgical too far back and the serpent can twist and bite. Too close and the fangs may still connect. Wings flare. Talons dig in. The snake thrashes violently, coils wrapping around feathered legs in a desperate attempt to constrict. The bird responds with a motion perfected by repetition. It lifts the snake and slams it against a rock. Once, the impact echoes. Twice, the body spasms weaken. A third strike snaps vertebrae with brutal efficiency. This technique, peck, seize, slam, transforms the environment into a weapon. Rocks become anvils, gravity becomes force multiplier. Precision replaces brute strength. Roadrunners are not immune to venom in the way some mammals are. A direct bite from a large rattlesnake can injure or kill them, but they possess a degree of resistance, a physiological tolerance that allows them to survive minor envenomations that might debilitate other birds. It is not invincibility, it is risk management, and the risk is real. Young roadrunners must learn this choreography through trial and error. Juveniles begin with smaller, less dangerous snakes, coach whips, garter snakes, practicing the timing of sidesteps and the accuracy of their grip. Instinct provides the blueprint, experience refines it. Some attempts fail, a mistimed lunge, a fang that finds skin. In the desert, education carries consequences, but the reward is immense. A single snake provides dense protein, hydration and fat enough to sustain the hunter through lean days. Few predators specialize in venomous prey. Fewer still do so on foot. The roadrunner does not merely survive alongside snakes, it hunts them. Yet snakes are only one chapter. A predator that specializes too narrowly in the desert does not last long. The roadrunner may be famed for killing snakes, but it survives because it refuses to be picky. Mid-morning heat rises from the sand. Beneath a flat stone, a scorpion waits in darkness, pincers half open, tail arched over its back. It senses vibration, a tremor through the ground. The stone flips. Daylight floods the scorpion's world. Before the sting can arc downward, the roadrunner's beak strikes with needlepoint accuracy. One precise blow to the head disables the nervous system. The bird shakes the body vigorously, slamming it against the ground to neutralize the venomous tail. The sting falls limp. The meal disappears. A tarantula crossing open sand meets a similar fate. A centipede, all armored segments and venomous claws, writhes briefly before being crushed and swallowed. Protein is protein. When insects are abundant after monsoon rains, the roadrunner becomes an efficient invertebrate hunter. Grasshoppers leap in frantic arcs through blooming desert grasses. Beetles emerge from softened soil. The bird moves through this seasonal buffet with relentless focus, snapping prey mid-hop. But when drought tightens its grip, the menu shifts. A kangaroo rat ventures from its burrow at dusk, cheeks bulging with seeds. The roadrunner stalks low, closing distance in silent increments. A sudden burst of speed, a snap, and the rodent is pinned. At a cactus thicket, a curve-billed thrasher's nest lies partially concealed among spines. The roadrunner climbs with surprising agility, balancing on ribbed cactus arms. Eggs vanish one by one. Sometimes even nestlings are taken. Harsh arithmetic in a land of scarcity. Small birds, unwary quail chicks, even the occasional hummingbird may fall victim if opportunity aligns with hunger. And then there is fruit. When prickly pear pads swell with crimson berries, the roadrunner becomes something else entirely. An opportunistic forager. It plucks the soft fruit, swallowing pulp and seeds. In late summer, these cactus fruits provide moisture as much as sugar. Hydration hides inside sweetness. This flexibility, this omnivorous edge, is the true secret of endurance. The roadrunner does not anchor itself to a single prey cycle. It rides the fluctuations of the desert like a skilled navigator adjusting sails to shifting wind. In spring, lizards dominate the diet, warmed and active in rising temperatures. In monsoon season, insects explode in number. During lean winter months, rodents and plant material fill the gap. The strategy is simple: waste nothing, adapt constantly. Its digestive system tolerates chitin, bone, fur, and fruit alike. Few predators switch roles so fluidly. Insect hunter 1 hour, snake killer the next, fruit eater by afternoon. The desert rewards versatility. In a land where nothing is guaranteed, survival belongs to those who can change without hesitation. By noon, the desert becomes an anvil. Heat presses down from above and radiates upward from below. Air itself feels heavy, trembling in visible waves across the sand. For many animals, this is the hour of retreat. Burrows, shade, stillness. The roadrunner does not flee the heat. It negotiates with it. At sunrise, when the desert still carries the cool memory of night, the bird performs a ritual of exposure. Perched on a low branch or cactus rib, it turns its back to the rising sun. Wings droop slightly. Feathers part along the upper back, revealing a patch of dark bare skin. This skin absorbs solar radiation efficiently. Like a biological solar panel, it draws warmth directly into the bloodstream. Within minutes, body temperature rises enough to power the muscles for the morning hunt. In cold desert winters, this basking behavior can mean the difference between sluggish movement and lethal speed. The sun climbs higher. By late morning, the equation reverses. Heat is no longer fuel, It is threat. The roadrunner lowers its activity. It moves between patches of shade cast by mesquite and palo verde. Beneath a shrub it stands with its body angled away from direct sunlight, minimizing surface exposure. The crest flattens. The tail rests against the ground. Its beak opens slightly. Panting begins. Unlike mammals, birds do not sweat. Instead, they release excess heat through evaporative cooling. Moisture evaporates from the respiratory tract. Carrying heat away with each breath, as the bird pants rapidly, dissipating the heat with each breath. The process is subtle but effective, balancing body temperature even as ambient air approaches extremes. Watch closely in the shimmering midday light. The roadrunner appears almost still, conserving energy. Only the faint motion of its throat reveals the continuous regulation happening within. Water is scarce here. Open pools evaporate quickly. Streams are rare. The roadrunner solves this problem the same way it solves hunger, through consumption. Much of its hydration comes from prey. Lizards, rodents, insects all contain internal moisture. Even cactus fruit provides supplemental water during dry months. Specialized kidneys concentrate waste efficiently, minimizing fluid loss. By late afternoon, as shadows lengthen and temperatures begin to ease, the bird becomes active again. Muscles that rested through the worst heat now prime for pursuit. The desert cools in increments. Life resumes its cautious motion. This daily rhythm, absorb, endure, conserve, is not dramatic. It is disciplined. Every adjustment, every behavioral shift is part of a larger thermal strategy, written into instinct over thousands of generations. The roadrunner does not conquer the heat, it synchronizes with it. But survival is not only about endurance. When winter loosens its grip and daylight stretches longer across the desert floor, something shifts in the roadrunner's rhythm. Hunting remains essential, territory remains defended. But beneath the practical mechanics of survival, a quieter urgency awakens. A male roadrunner steps into an open clearing between saguaros. His crest rises, feathers fanning upward in sharp silhouette against the morning light. He lowers his body slightly and begins to bob. Forward, back, forward again, each movement deliberate, almost theatrical. His tail lifts and dips in counterpoint. Wings flick outward briefly, flashing white patches along their edges. This is not aggression, it is invitation. A female watches from the shadow of a creosote bush. Her posture is alert but reserved. The male approaches carefully, holding something in his beak, a freshly caught lizard, limp but intact. He pauses. Then, with a slow, exaggerated motion, he presents the offering. The lizard hangs between them like a contract. If she accepts, the bond strengthens. Gift-giving in roadrunners is more than ritual. It demonstrates competence. A well-fed mate increases the likelihood of healthy offspring. Courtship here is not based on song alone. It is proof of hunting skill, of territory control, of reliability in a land where failure can mean starvation. If the female takes the prey, the pair begins to move together, not in constant proximity, but within shared boundaries. Roadrunners often form monogamous pair bonds that can last multiple seasons. Both partners patrol the territory. Both hunt. Both remain vigilant. Territory in the desert is not decorative space, it is resource geometry. A pair may defend several hectares, shaped by food availability and shelter density. when another roadrunner crosses the invisible boundary, tension escalates quickly. The resident male's crest rises high, wings spread slightly to exaggerate size. A low, rattling call breaks the silence. If the intruder persists, a chase erupts, legs flashing across the sand in a burst of controlled fury. Physical combat is rare, but the message is clear. This ground is claimed. Defending territory ensures access to nesting sites, dense shrubs, thorny cholla, or sturdy cactus arms capable of supporting a woven nest. It also secures predictable hunting grounds during the demanding breeding season. In the quiet hours before sunset, the bonded pair may perch close together, bodies angled outward in opposite directions, scanning for threats. Partnership here is practical. 2 sets of eyes detect danger faster than one. The desert wind moves through cactus spines, the heat softens. Within this defended space, something new is about to begin. And soon the desert welcomes new hunters. High within the protective arms of a cholla cactus, a nest takes shape. Twigs interlock in a rough bowl. Leaves, grass, and bits of bark soften the interior. Thorned branches form a living barricade against climbing predators. The structure is not elegant, but it is strategic, elevated, concealed, armored by spines. Inside, pale eggs rest in the filtered shade. The female settles over them while the male stands guard nearby, crest half raised, eyes scanning the desert floor. Incubation lasts less than 3 weeks. In that short span, temperatures swing wildly. Cold desert nights, blistering midday heat. When the sun climbs too high, one parent remains at the nest, wings slightly extended to cast shade over the fragile shells. Then the first crack appears. A chick emerges, blind, nearly naked, fragile, against the immensity of the desert. Soon siblings follow. Within days, soft down begins to cover their bodies. Their eyes open, their heads wobble upward at the slightest vibration. Feeding begins immediately. The parents move with renewed urgency. Now lizards, insects, small rodents, prey that once sustained 2 adults must now sustain an expanding brood. A scorpion arrives dangling from the male's beak. He lands at the nest rim. The chicks surge upward in unsteady competition. The strongest reaches first. The scorpion disappears whole into an impossibly wide gape. A centipede follows, then a small snake delivered in sections. Roadrunner chicks swallow prey nearly their own length. There is no chewing, no hesitation. Protein must be converted into growth as quickly as possible. Sibling rivalry intensifies in times of scarcity. When food is abundant, especially during monsoon seasons, most chicks survive. But when drought tightens its grip, the hierarchy sharpens. Larger nestlings dominate feedings, smaller ones fall behind. The desert enforces efficiency even within the nest. Remarkably, roadrunners may raise multiple broods in a single year if conditions allow. After the first clutch begins to fledge, hopping clumsily along branches and exploring nearby ground, the female may lay another set of eggs. The male often continues feeding the older juveniles while the female incubates again. This staggered parenting maximizes opportunity during brief windows of abundance. Watch as a parent returns at midday. The sun blazes overhead. Instead of hunting, it stands above the nestlings, wings slightly lifted to cast a moving shadow across their bodies. Even shade becomes nourishment. Within weeks, the chicks leave the nest. Their legs strengthen. Their coordination sharpens. The desert does not grant long apprenticeships. Instinct pushes them toward independence with relentless speed. They practice short bursts of running. They stalk insects. They learn to gauge distance and timing. The future hunters are already rehearsing, yet even hunters are hunted. In the desert, no hunter stands beyond the reach of danger. The roadrunner moves with confidence across open ground, but the sky is never empty. High above the cactus forest, a red-tailed hawk circles on rising thermals. Its wings are broad, steady, barely moving. From this height, the desert becomes a map of motion. Every lizard dash, every rodent scurry, every bird-shaped shadow. The hawk's eyes lock onto movement. Below, the roadrunner pauses mid-stride. Something shifts in the light, a flicker across the sand. The bird freezes, crest lowers, body flattens. Stillness becomes camouflage. The shadow sweeps closer, then the hawk folds its wings. The dive is silent at first, a narrowing missile of feather and talon. Air whistles as gravity takes control. At the final instant, the roadrunner explodes sideways, legs churn, tail snaps to correct direction. Sand sprays in a tight arc. The hawk's talons rake empty ground. The desert floor offers protection the sky cannot navigate easily. The roadrunner darts beneath dense thorn scrub, weaving between cactus spines too tight for wide wings to penetrate. The hawk pulls up sharply, climbing again, scanning for another chance. Daylight belongs to the vigilant, but night shifts the balance. As darkness cools the desert, a great horned owl emerges from a rocky perch. Its flight is silent, feathers structured to muffle air turbulence. Massive yellow eyes pierce the dim light. The roadrunner does not hunt in darkness. It roosts in low branches or thick brush, relying on concealment. The owl glides between saguaros, head swiveling with eerie precision. A faint rustle below, wings flare. Talons descend, feathers scatter. Sometimes the roadrunner escapes into tangled vegetation. Sometimes it does not. On the ground, other threats prowl. A coyote trots along a dry wash, nose sweeping side to side. It is opportunistic and fast. If it catches the roadrunner in open terrain with enough lead, endurance can overcome agility. The chase becomes a test of stamina. The bird zigzags sharply. The coyote corrects. Distance narrows. At the last moment, the roadrunner veers into rocky terrain, scrambling over uneven ground where hooves or paws lose traction. The coyote hesitates just long enough. Elsewhere, a bobcat crouches low among shadows, spotted coat blending seamlessly with scrub and stone. Unlike the coyote, it relies on ambush. One silent pounce could end the sprint forever. In these moments, perspective shifts. The predator becomes prey. Every step the roadrunner takes across open ground carries risk. Its speed is extraordinary, but it is not limitless. Its awareness must be constant, eyes scanning upward, ears tuned to subtle shifts in wind and vibration. Survival here is a game of seconds. Speed is survival. But timing is everything. The desert does not measure time in months. It measures it in survival windows. For much of the year, the land lies exposed beneath a sky without mercy. Heat presses downward in relentless waves. Grasses bleach to straw. Dry riverbeds fracture into geometric patterns of dust. Prey species retreat underground. Activity slows to a fragile hum. Then the horizon darkens. In late summer, moisture surges northward from the Gulf of California and the Pacific. Clouds tower into anvil-shaped giants above the mountains. Thunder rolls across the plains like distant artillery. The first raindrops strike the dust. Steam rises instantly. The scent of creosote fills the air. Sharp, electric, unmistakable. Rain falls harder. Within minutes, parched washes transform into churning torrents. Flash floods carve through the desert with astonishing speed, rearranging stones, uprooting shrubs, reshaping territory. For a moment, the desert roars. Then, just as quickly, the water recedes. What remains is transformation. Seeds that have waited dormant for years awaken. Tiny green shoots pierce the soil. Cactus pads swell. Insects erupt from hidden chambers. Winged termites, beetles, grasshoppers in sudden abundance. The desert clock has turned. For the Roadrunner, this is a season of opportunity. Lizards grow more active in humid warmth. Rodent populations surge as vegetation thickens. Insect swarms offer effortless calories. Hunting becomes less desperate, more strategic. Chicks raised during monsoon months stand a better chance of survival. Food arrives steadily. Parents make fewer risky forays across exposed ground. But abundance carries its own tension. Predators multiply when prey is plentiful. Hawks hunt more frequently. Coyotes rear larger litters. The balance tightens even in prosperity, and prosperity does not last. As autumn fades, the desert exhales its temporary richness and returns to austerity. Drought cycles stretch longer in some years. Entire seasons pass with little rain. In those times, prey becomes scarce. Territories expand as roadrunners roam farther in search of sustenance. Nesting may pause entirely if conditions fall below a critical threshold. The desert clock is not predictable. It is cyclical but variable, driven by atmospheric patterns far beyond the horizon. A single failed monsoon can ripple through the ecosystem for months, altering breeding success, predator density, and survival rates across species. Watch as rain strikes dust in slow motion. Watch as insects emerge in shimmering clouds days later. Watch as, months after that, silence creeps back across the flats. Time here is not gentle. It pulses between excess and emptiness. When the rains come, the desert transforms almost overnight. What was dust becomes fragrance. What was silence becomes motion. Tiny rivulets carve silver threads through sandy washes. Puddles shimmer beneath the returning sun. Within days, green pushes through soil that seemed lifeless only a week before. The Sonoran desert does not bloom gently, it erupts. Cactus crowns burst with color. Saguaros lift creamy white flowers toward pollinating bats and bees. Prickly pear pads glow with yellow and crimson blossoms. Even the smallest shrubs unfurl delicate petals, racing against the clock of evaporation. With vegetation comes multiplication. Insects rise in staggering numbers. Termites take to the air in synchronized swarms, their wings catching the light like drifting embers. Grasshoppers thrum across new growth. Beetles crawl over damp soil, armored bodies glistening. The ground hums. For the Roadrunner, this is a season of acceleration. It moves through blooming fields with deliberate focus, snapping grasshoppers mid-leap, plucking beetles from leaves, intercepting flying insects with short bursts of speed. Prey is abundant, and energy expenditure drops dramatically. Each hunt carries lower risk, higher reward. Near a fresh wash, kangaroo rats emerge confidently from burrows, seeds plentiful, cover thicker. Their numbers swell during wet cycles. Juveniles scatter across the landscape, inexperienced and vulnerable. The roadrunner waits. A single dash collapses the distance. The rodent is seized before it can pivot back toward safety. In times of abundance, the bird can afford patience. It selects targets strategically, conserving strength for future opportunities. Even reptiles respond to the moisture. Lizards bask boldly on newly warmed stones. Insects now plentiful enough to sustain them. Snake activity increases too, drawn by the surge in rodent populations. The entire food web tightens, each species rising in response to the same pulse of rain. For nesting roadrunners, this is the golden window. Chicks hatch into a world temporarily rich. Parents arrive at the nest in rapid succession, beaks loaded with prey. Juveniles grow faster, feathers thickening, legs strengthening under consistent nourishment. Some pairs attempt additional broods, capitalizing on the fleeting generosity of the season. But the desert never forgets its baseline. The clouds thin, puddles shrink, green fades to ochre, insect swarms diminish as quickly as they appeared. Rodent populations, once swollen, begin to contract under renewed heat and dwindling vegetation. The pulse slows. Abundance here is not permanence. It is a surge, a breath drawn deeply and released just as quickly. The roadrunner adapts as always, but it knows instinctively that the clock is already turning again. But abundance never lasts. The desert exhales, weeks pass without rain, then months. The last of the green fades from the flats. Flowers collapse into brittle husks. Grasses bleach beneath an unforgiving sun. What was once a hum of insects becomes a faint whisper, then nearly nothing at all. Cracks spread across the soil like fractures in old bone. In the distance, a roadrunner moves slowly across the open ground. No explosive sprint, no immediate chase. Its gait is measured now, economical. Every step must justify the energy it costs. Prey has declined. Insects that once rose in swarms retreat underground or perish. Rodent burrows appear abandoned. Lizards grow scarce, emerging only briefly at dawn or dusk to conserve moisture. Even snakes reduce activity, waiting for conditions to shift. Scarcity reshapes behavior. Territories expand. A pair that once defended a compact hunting range may now patrol far wider boundaries, pushing into neighboring ground. Encounters between roadrunners become more frequent and more hostile. A male spots an intruder along the edge of his range. Crest rises sharply, wings flare. He charges across the sand in a sudden burst of aggression. The confrontation is swift, intense. Bodies colliding, beaks snapping, legs striking. There is little room for tolerance when resources shrink. Energy must be defended. For breeding pairs, drought carries deeper consequences. If food drops below a critical threshold, nesting may not occur at all. Eggs demand protein. Chicks demand constant feeding. Without reliable prey, reproduction becomes too costly. In years, when a brood has already hatched and drought intensifies unexpectedly, the hierarchy within the nest sharpens. Larger chicks dominate feedings. Smaller siblings struggle to compete. In extreme scarcity, weaker nestlings may not survive. It is not cruelty. It is biological triage, the desert's unspoken arithmetic ensuring that at least some offspring endure. The roadrunner's movements grow more deliberate. It hunts at cooler hours, avoiding midday heat that drains water reserves. It may turn increasingly toward fruit if any remains, extracting moisture where it can. It drinks from no visible source, relying instead on the internal water of whatever prey it can capture. Even predators feel the pressure. Coyotes roam farther. Hawks circle longer before committing to a dive. The entire ecosystem tightens into a lean, restrained existence. The silence becomes palpable. Wind moves dust across cracked earth. A lone roadrunner pauses atop a rock, scanning a landscape that offers fewer answers than before. Survival in drought is not dramatic. It is patient, calculated, often invisible. But the desert has always been a place of tests. Across this harsh land, the desert is never truly empty. It only appears so at first glance. Beneath the brittle crust of soil, within burrows and shaded crevices, life persists in forms as specialized as the roadrunner itself. Each species is a solution to the same equation: heat, scarcity, risk. Near a rocky outcrop, a Gila monster emerges from shadow, heavy-bodied, deliberate, its skin patterned in black and coral pink like cracked lava. It does not sprint. Unlike the roadrunner, it does not sprint. It advances slowly, tongue flicking to taste invisible chemical trails in the air. Venom rests in grooves along its lower jaw, rare among lizards. The roadrunner watches from a safe distance. This is not prey to attack recklessly. Instead, the bird trails the reptile at times, aware that a Gila monster raiding nests may flush smaller animals into open ground. Opportunity, not confrontation. Strategy, not bravado. As daylight fades, movement shifts underground. A kangaroo rat bursts from its burrow in a shower of sand, hind legs oversized, tail balancing like a counterweight. It moves in elastic hops, covering distance with astonishing efficiency while conserving water, extracting nearly all it needs from dry seeds alone. The roadrunner lowers its body, a sudden sprint. The rodent jukes left, then right, zigzagging across the sand. The chase becomes erratic geometry, one built for unpredictability, the other for acceleration. Sometimes the rat escapes into its tunnel, sometimes it does not. Farther from the chase, a desert tortoise lumbers between creosote bushes. Its domed shell reflects harsh sunlight. It moves slowly, conserving energy, digging burrows deep enough to buffer extreme temperatures. The roadrunner approaches briefly, head tilted, then loses interest. This ancient reptile is armored patience. Not every encounter leads to violence. Night falls. Under ultraviolet light, the desert reveals a secret. Scorpions glow an eerie blue-green, their exoskeletons are fluorescing in response to wavelengths invisible to human eyes. They emerge cautiously from cracks and burrows, pincers testing the air. The roadrunner does not see fluorescence the way we do, but it detects movement, a flicker against moonlit sand. A shift of shadow, it strikes quickly, neutralizing the venomous tail before the sting can arc downward. In the distance, a kit fox slips silently between shrubs. Large ears tune to subterranean rustling. It pauses when it notices the roadrunner, For a moment, predator meets predator. Neither commits. Both calculate. The desert operates on coexistence as much as competition. Every species here has carved out a niche: speed, venom, armor, burrowing, nocturnality. The roadrunner is one expression of adaptation among many. It thrives not in isolation, but within a web of shifting alliances, rivalries, and overlapping hunger. Wind moves softly across the flats. Dust rises, then settles again. Each species writes its own survival story. In a world where many birds measure their lives in thousands of kilometers, the roadrunner remains grounded. It does not cross continents. It does not trace invisible highways through the sky. There is no grand seasonal exodus, and yet movement defines its existence. The Greater Roadrunner is largely non-migratory. Adults establish territories and remain within them year-round, provided resources remain viable. But staying in the desert does not mean standing still. Territories breathe. In years of abundance, a pair may defend a compact area rich with lizards, insects, and nesting shrubs. Boundaries remain tight. Patrol routes are predictable. The desert provides enough. In leaner times, those same boundaries stretch outward. The birds range farther, probing new washes, rocky slopes, and cactus thickets. What was once the edge becomes the center. What was once rival ground becomes necessary. This is migration without distance, subtle expansion and contraction rather than long flight. Juveniles, however, cannot remain. When young roadrunners fledge and grow independent, they disperse. Instinct pushes them outward to avoid competing directly with their parents. They travel across open flats, through mesquite scrub, sometimes crossing roads, fences, and suburban edges. Many do not survive this dispersal phase. Predators wait. Resources are uncertain. Territory is already claimed by adults. But those that succeed carve out new domains, extending the species' footprint across the desert mosaic. The northern edge of that footprint carries additional challenges. Roadrunners range as far north as parts of Nevada, Utah, and Colorado. In these higher elevations and cooler latitudes, winter temperatures drop sharply. Frost becomes common. Snow occasionally dusts the ground. Here, survival narrows. Cold limits insect activity. Reptiles retreat into brumation, a reptilian version of dormancy. The roadrunner compensates by shifting diet toward rodents and available plant matter. Morning basking becomes essential. Feathers parted wide to absorb precious solar warmth. Some northern individuals may shift slightly downslope during harsher winters, seeking microclimates with mild conditions. South-facing slopes, rocky outcrops that retain heat, desert edges where cold air drains away, these become seasonal refugees. But they do not migrate south in sweeping arcs like geese or swallows. They endure across Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and deep into Mexico. Populations remain relatively stable where habitat persists. In more fragmented northern landscapes, density is thin. The desert's margins test the limits of the species' thermal tolerance and prey availability. Range is not static. It expands in wet cycles, contracts in prolonged drought, presses northward in warmer decades, retreats when winters intensify. The roadrunner's map is drawn not in lines but in gradients: heat, food, shelter. It does not chase seasons, it negotiates with them, yet climate redraws boundaries. Long before deserts hardened into the landscapes we recognize today, before cacti ruled the horizon and heat shimmered above open flats, the roadrunner belonged to a different story. It is a cuckoo, yes, that cuckoo. The family Cuculidae, a lineage better known for forest dwellers with haunting calls, and in some species, the infamous strategy of brood parasitism, laying eggs in other birds' nests and outsourcing parenthood. Most cuckoos are tree-bound, slender-bodied, strong flyers weaving through canopy and woodland edge. The roadrunner shares their ancestry. But evolution is not sentimental. At some point in its lineage, selective pressures shifted. Forest thinned, ground opened, predators and prey rearranged themselves. The desert rewarded a different skill set. Wings, while still present and functional, became secondary. Legs took command. The greater roadrunner evolved longer, more powerful hind limbs relative to body size. Its zygodactyl feet, 2 toes forward, 2 back, a cuckoo trait, adapted for stability on uneven terrain. The body elongated. The tail lengthened for balance, acting as a dynamic rudder during sharp turns. Muscle distribution shifted towards sprint performance rather than sustained flight. Flight did not disappear. It simply lost priority. Flying in desert carries costs. Lift requires energy. Energy requires fuel. In sparse environments where prey is unpredictable, efficiency becomes everything. Running across open ground allows rapid pursuit of lizards, snakes, insects, prey that rarely climbs into the sky. Staying low reduces exposure to aerial predators. Short bursts of flight remain useful for escaping danger or reaching elevated perches, but daily life happens at ground level. In evolutionary terms, this is niche specialization. Flying cuckoos exploit vertical forest layers. Roadrunners dominate the horizontal plane. Consider the desert itself. It is a landscape of visibility. Few trees, long sight lines. In such terrain, speed across ground can outcompete flight over it. A roadrunner can accelerate quickly, pivot sharply, and navigate through brush without the energetic overhead of sustained wing beats. Its top running speed, up to 30 km per hour, is not merely impressive. It is decisive. This shift likely unfolded over millions of years, shaped by climate fluctuations and expanding arid zones in North America. As grasslands and deserts spread, ancestral ground foraging cuckoos found opportunity. Natural selection favored individuals that could run longer, balance better, thermoregulate efficiently. Feathers adapted to dark dorsal plumage absorbs morning heat. Lighter underparts reduce overheating. Behavior complements anatomy. Wings droop in early sunlight to expose dark skin patches, increasing heat gain when temperatures are low. Evolution does not aim, it filters. The roadrunner is not a failed flyer, it is a refined runner. In forests, wings dominate. In deserts, gravity is less an enemy than the sun. Over time, speed became survival. Endurance became lineage. What began as a tree-dwelling cuckoo became a terrestrial predator engineered for open land. In the end, speed wins the chase, but intelligence wins the desert. Watch a roadrunner pause mid-stride. Its body freezes, tail slightly raised, crest angled forward. The head tilts, not randomly but precisely, adjusting depth perception, recalibrating distance. That tilt is geometry in motion. Forward-facing vision gives it binocular overlap, meaning both eyes focus on the same target to judge space accurately. In a world of thorns and sudden strikes, miscalculation can be fatal. This bird does not rush blindly. It calculates. Problem-solving in the desert is rarely theatrical, it is subtle. A tarantula must be handled carefully. Venomous spines can injure soft tissue. A scorpion's stinger must be neutralized before swallowing. Roadrunners will pin prey, flip it, slam it against rock to disable movement. With snakes, the technique becomes almost surgical. Timing, positioning, impact. The behavior looks instinctive, and much of it is. But refinement comes with experience. Juveniles are clumsy. Adults are deliberate. Observational learning plays a role here. Young roadrunners watch their parents handle prey. They witness technique. They practice on smaller targets first. Early hunts often involve trial and error. A misjudged strike, a dropped insect, a defensive nip from prey. Each mistake imprints. Memory matters too. A roadrunner maintains an intimate mental map of its territory. Water sources, shade patches, high-density insect zones after rain, nesting shrubs, escape routes from predators. Studies on corvids, crows and ravens often dominate conversations about avian intelligence, but desert specialists like the roadrunner demonstrate a different cognitive style: spatial persistence. Knowing where food appeared last week increases the probability of finding it again. Knowing where a hawk once struck encourages caution at that location. The desert rewards pattern recognition. There is also restraint. A delayed strike can mean survival. The snake coils. The bird waits. Patience reduces risk. Moving too soon invites venom. Moving too late loses the opportunity. Intelligence here is not abstract reasoning. It is timing under pressure. Even territory defense shows strategy. Rather than constant aggression, roadrunners often rely on display, crest raised, body elongated, tail fanned. Energy is conserved unless escalation is necessary. Conflict avoided is energy saved. Their brain-to-body ratio is modest compared to parrots or crows. But intelligence is not a single scale. It is adaptation. The roadrunner's cognition is tuned to desert mathematics. Heat, risk, distance, reward. Think of it this way. In lush ecosystems, abundance allows experimentation. In deserts, errors compound quickly. A wasted chase costs calories. A misjudged prey item costs injury. A forgotten shade patch costs hydration. Every decision carries weight. The head tilts again. A faint rustle beneath creosote bush. The bird waits one beat longer than expected, then strikes. The desert remembers. Long before highways cut through the Sonoran sands, the roadrunner already carried meaning. For many indigenous peoples of the Southwest, including the Hopi, Pueblo and Pima, the bird is not merely an animal. It is a sign, a protector, a traveller between worlds. Some traditions hold that the roadrunner's tracks, which appear X-shaped in the sand, confuse evil spirits by masking direction. Others see it as a guardian against malevolent forces, a creature that wards off harm by its very presence. Its feathers were used ceremonially, its image carved into pottery and etched into stone. Respect matters here. These stories are not decorations, they are knowledge systems rooted in landscape. In a land where survival is thin and spiritual geography runs deep, animals become teachers. The roadrunner, alert, adaptable, fearless before serpents, embodies resilience. Then history accelerates. Settlers arrive, railroads stretch, borders harden, and the roadrunner shifts from sacred figure to regional emblem. It becomes the unofficial mascot of the American Southwest, appearing on roadside signs, motel logos, restaurant murals. Its silhouette, tail lifted, crest raised, becomes shorthand for desert identity. And then, in the 20th century, animation takes over. A cartoon exaggerates its speed into impossibility. The bird becomes a streak, a beeping blur defying gravity and physics. In that animated desert, cliffs hang suspended until noticed. Dynamite misfires. Coyotes defy mortality. It's funny, it is iconic. It is also fiction. The real roadrunner does not outrun explosions. It does not defy gravity. Its top speed, about 20 miles per hour, is impressive for a bird, but bounded by muscle and bone. Its victories are earned through timing and precision, not slapstick inevitability. Yet the cartoon did something interesting. It preserved the myth of speed. Even caricature carries truth at its core. The exaggeration rests on reality. The roadrunner really is quick. It really does pivot mid-stride. It really does confront snakes with improbable boldness. The difference is that the real desert has stakes. In folklore, the roadrunner protects from spirits. In animation, it outwits a persistent predator. In ecology, it survives by strategy, restraint, and adaptation. 3 layers of meaning, one bird. Cultural symbols often simplify. They flatten complexity into emblem. But the living roadrunner remains complicated, territorial yet adaptable, bold yet cautious, fierce yet vulnerable to drought and habitat loss. Look closely at roadside art in Arizona or New Mexico. The painted bird is almost always mid-stride, motion captured, energy implied. Speed has become its identity. But beyond symbol, beyond myth, beyond the cartoon blur, there is muscle tightening against hot sand. There is a heartbeat under feathers. There is a creature bound to climate and prey cycles and thorn forests. A living animal, not an icon. And symbols, however enduring, cannot run forever without a world beneath them. Evening settles slowly over the Sonoran plain. The light softens, heat loosens its grip. Shadows stretch long between saguaro columns that have stood for centuries. The wind, which all day carried dust and the scent of creosote, now moves with quiet restraint. In this cooling air, the desert exhales. A roadrunner moves along the edge of a dry wash, no longer sprinting, no longer striking. Its steps are measured, deliberate. The urgency of the hunt has passed. Now it listens. The desert is not chaos, it is balance. Every strike against a rattlesnake shifts a scale. Every scorpion consumed reduces a sting that might have found another host. Every rodent taken from the scrub alters the future of seeds buried and unearthed. Predator and prey do not cancel each other, they shape each other. when insect populations surge after monsoon rains, roadrunners feast, thinning swarms of grasshoppers and beetles before they strip young plants bare. When rodent numbers swell in wet years, the bird's appetite becomes a quiet regulator, preventing explosive population growth that could unravel fragile vegetation. It is not control in the human sense. It is pressure, constant, subtle, responsive. Remove one piece and the tension shifts. Too many rodents and seedlings vanish. Too few predators and balance tips towards overconsumption. Too few insects and food webs tighten like pulled wire. The roadrunner is not the apex predator of this landscape. Hawks patrol higher, coyotes command wider territories. But it is a mid-level force, agile, opportunistic, embedded. In ecology, these middle players matter profoundly. They link small prey to larger hunters. They translate insect abundance into muscle and feather. They become prey themselves for owls and bobcats, transferring energy upward. The desert functions through these exchanges. A kangaroo rat darts between shadows, surviving the night by chance and instinct. A kit fox listens for movement beneath the soil. A great horned owl lifts silently from a palo verde branch. And below them all, in the granular arithmetic of survival, the roadrunner continues its patrol. Long shots reveal the scale. From above, the desert appears empty, a tapestry of muted greens and ochres stitched together by arroyos and stone. But emptiness is illusion. Every square meter holds stories of consumption and escape. The roadrunner pauses atop a low rock as the sun sinks behind distant mountains. Its crest lies flat now, its tail lowers. The day's equations are complete. For now, equilibrium holds, but equilibrium in the desert is never permanent. It is negotiated daily between rain and drought, predator and prey, shade and exposure. And as twilight deepens, another force enters the frame. A distant road cuts a straight line through ancient terrain. A faint hum carries on the cooling air. Balance is delicate, and the desert is changing. Across Arizona and New Mexico, the desert is no longer defined only by cactus and stone. Cities expand outward in slow geometric waves. Phoenix, Tucson, Albuquerque, their lights now glow where creosote once dominated uninterrupted plains. Highways slice through ancient corridors of movement. Fences redraw boundaries that evolution never recognized. For the roadrunner, fragmentation is not abstract. Territories are split by asphalt. Nesting shrubs disappear beneath development. Traffic replaces the rustle of wind. And yet, this bird is not helpless. Roadrunners have been seen hunting in suburban yards, perching on garden walls, even using human structures as vantage points. They adapt, taking lizards from landscaped edges, insects from irrigated lawns, rodents drawn to scattered seed. Resilience is part of their story, but resilience has limits. Climate models suggest intensifying heat, prolonged droughts, and altered monsoon patterns across the southwest. In a system already balanced on scarcity, even small shifts ripple outward. Fewer insects, stressed vegetation, tighter food webs. The roadrunner still sprints across the desert floor, swift and precise, crest lifted against the sun. Not infinite, and even the fastest hunter cannot outrun a horizon that keeps moving closer.